You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more.
Wepa, what's good, beautiful people? Today, we're diving headfirst into existential dread with style because my guest has turned doom into a whole mood that you could frame on your wall. I kid you not. He's a graphic artist, a curator, and a mastermind behind the upcoming Kickstarter, I Feel Doomed, a project that says what we're all thinking, right? But with better design and absolutely way more guts, you heard? So family, I need you to give it up for the man who made anxiety collectible, the curator of chaos, the Picasso of panic, the one, the only Joseph Karg, baby. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm trying to get my energy up to your energy.
But as the Picasso of panic, you know,
that was good.
Another Mr. Pop right there. You got to make it happen, baby.
Yeah, that was really good. What'd you say? You had another one too that was like the collector of
the curator of chaos.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, man. Well, your boys, brother. So thank you, brother, for coming on and chatting about this upcoming Kickstarter project. Don't you worry, folks. I'm gonna show you off the project. And guess what? You see that QR code up in the corner? I made it easy for y'all. As we chat, you go ahead and skip ahead before I show it. Go ahead and snap a picture of that. It's gonna take you straight to the launch page, which is chock full of information, imagery, videos, and all that good stuff. Don't you worry. All right, so Joe, I always like this, you know, you're first time guest on the show, and I always love to know the origin story of my first time guest, baby. So let me know where you're originally from, and the most important question of your life. What is the first thing in all of fandom that you ever fell in love with?
Oh, wow. I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania, originally, which used to be nowhere. But then The Office took place there, so now it's the home of the American Office.
It took The Office to get known, Bendito. You know, but now they got the Kargverse building, so forget about
The Office. I think before The Office, it was known mostly for depression, that area, and fracking. You know, I think the first thing that I was ever really super plugged into as like a geeky thing was the X-Men cartoon in the 90s. Right. I was born in 83, and like I remember a bit, like a little bit Transformers, and I definitely liked Ninja Turtles, and I collected some of those toys. But my uncle had collected comics and was specifically a big X-Men like Marvel person. So when that show came out, it became a connection point between the two of us where I could watch that and ask him questions. And he was only maybe 10 years older than me or so. So it was cool to bond over that. But I was obsessive about it. I really loved that show.
Excellent. And how did that lead into your nerddom growing up? I mean, did you have a tribe? Were you a dolo nerd, if you will?
I don't feel like I had so my uncle gave me a comic, my first comic, and I collected comics for a while, starting when I was like 9, but we moved a lot. So every 2 or 3 years, my stepdad was in the Navy, and I would have a whole new group of friends. And so comics and the X-Men and these like Marvel cards and properties, like it was connective tissue. You would show up somewhere new and kind of figure out who was into that sort of stuff. So it did feel like something, and especially at that age, you're playing pretend a lot, and it played like on the playground and things. Like I remember it playing into, okay, what's the scenario? We have these powers, you know, for 30 minutes as we're all imagining. Like it was very influenced by comic books, and specifically like by X-Men comics.
All right, dig it. All right, so let's talk about you leading then into your creative journey then, Joe. Like how did that all start? I mean, did it start with your tribe, or was it something that you always kind of did hidden, you know, in your closet writing and, you know, not showing off your geek card yet?
I don't know. All through high school, I never drew. I didn't take art classes. I never saw myself as somebody who was going to be like a visual artist. And I love comics and I played video games and things like that. But when I was 18, I started making movies with a group of guys who all were in film school, and they were comic book people. And so we bonded over that, and we made these little short films. And somewhere in the 2-3 years there out of high school, I realized that I just kind of like decided to go to study art, because everybody else in the group, like, I feel like this is the naivety of youth. Like at 19, I thought, oh, I'm going to be friends with these 5 people forever, and we're all going to be famous. We're all going to be rich. So I like looked at them and I was like, well, this guy is already going to school for directing. This guy's already going to school for writing. No one has gone to school for drawing. And so if I go and I learn that skill, I can bring it back to this like film group.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I went to art school, and within a year we had all disbanded and people moved to Los Angeles, etc. But once I was in art school, I met a couple professors who had worked at Marvel or DC. My professor Pat Quinn had done some work at Marvel during the time I was there. He was drawing Captain Marvel.
Oh, nice.
And then my other professor, this guy Sean Crystal, had done some work at DC and had published something in heavy metal. So there started to be that connective tissue. Those guys also went to conventions. And so by the time I was 21, I was going to local conventions. And then by the time I was 20,
wait, you ain't go to conventions until you were in your 20s?
Yeah. I mean, I went to Dragon.
A late bloomer.
once in high school. I'm from Atlanta, so Dragon Con is our big show here. Yeah. And I went there once on a whim. I don't even remember why I went, but I found out they had all this bootleg anime at the.
Oh yeah, bro, let's do it.
And then I went. I immediately got a job like bussing tables when I was 14, 15. And I went back the next year and I spent like $2,000 just on like bootleg Dragon Ball Z tapes.
Yeah, bro. I remember those days. I ain't gonna, I smile, because we may be years apart, but we're definitely on that same lane. Because when I used to do the New York Comic Cons, when I was but a teen, we had the videotapes. How you think I got to see Akira, Violence Jack, Frizzle? It wasn't straight up TV. It was bootleg tapes that they happen to have at the con. I know that's not a good thing to have, but hey, that was the only accessibility we had, man.
Yeah,
and like,
true.
That shit blew my mind. I can't forget, we ran home after the con like 5 o'clock. We had a VCR, man, popped that shit, and we ain't go to sleep until like 1-2 o'clock in the morning. For real, watching all these tapes, like, yo, you see this shit, yo?
Yeah, it's crazy. So wait, what year would that have been? Like 80, 88, 89?
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s, when I started going to the cons at the Pennsylvania Hotel across the street from Madison Square Garden.
Wow. Yeah, I remember the first time I ever saw or heard about Akira. It used to be advertised late at night on MTV that you could order the VHS tape. This was like maybe 1996 or something like that. And I remember watching the preview that they had for it, thinking like, at that time, there's no internet. You can't order these things from anywhere. So you either have to live in a city where how to kind of go and get that like, I don't even know what you call it. It's almost like contraband from other countries, It
was. Listen, back in the day, it was. Even like with music, hip hop, right? I mean, you go across from New York to Massachusetts. Massachusetts didn't have shit until kids from New York started moving into Mass, with the mixtapes, the bootlegs, and then started selling the bootleg tapes, making copies of their bootlegs.
Yeah.
These kids had the worst copies, I swear. I'm sorry.
That's so funny.
Bootleg upon a bootleg. You know what happens after to the sound quality.
That's so funny.
Good times, Joe. We dig it. Now let's dig this. Because we're having fun here. But I want to know about this book, man. I Feel Doomed. I mean, who doesn't nowadays? That's a wild title. I mean, definitely hits the mark. Now, was that title born from maybe a personal moment, or just maybe one really bad Tuesday?
It was actually, I teach at a university called Kennesaw University down here in Atlanta. And a year prior to the start of this project, I had tried to, through the university, get a bunch of students together and just do something that was like kind of like an internal anthology collection. And it fell apart. It was really difficult to manage. And because it was through the school, everybody had to be invited, all these things. So the second time that I tried to do it was with this project. And I just grabbed like a really small group, like 10 students who are incredibly talented. And I just like handpicked them. And we all had a discussion about, what do you want to draw? What do you want to write? Like, what do we think this could be? Like, I'm here to help you, but like, I want you guys to feel like you're driving it, or like you have agency into the creative process for this. And one of the students just threw the title out, and it just like resonated in the room. There were some other things that had been pitched and other ideas, maybe like time travel stories or, you know, things like that, something that could be connective. And then she said, I feel doomed. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Everybody, like, if you don't feel a little bit of doom right now, you're either, I don't know who you are. You're naive. You're not plugged in. You're not paying attention. You know,
you're the ultimate optimist.
Yeah. There's something you're even the most religious people I know feel optimistically doomed. They, you know, they feel like they're like, we're living in the end days and it's great.
That's the one thing we're sure of. We're living in the end days.
That's right.
Oh my fucking God. Now listen, you are a graphic artist, but you also are, as you know, we're talking about a curator, right? Yeah. So which one would you say gets you in more trouble creatively?
Curating or making my own work?
Yeah.
God, I don't know. I guess the curating is complicated because you have to manage a lot of personalities and you have to manage egos, and especially when you're in the driver's seat for something like this, the trouble is just making sure that everybody feels like they're in good hands, right? Like that I'm providing all the necessary kind of like work to make sure that this a big project like this can come together well, but also they can't feel like I'm micromanaging them, you know? So there's a kind of a push and pull that happens, you know, where there's definitely nights where I'm sitting up waiting for artwork to come in, or I'm seeing artwork come in that's not quite good enough. And I have to like pause, wait a day, wait a week, you know, like I have to find those moments to come in. Massage.
See, because you're leading me right into my next question, because I was about to ask, like, did you ever think on something that you received, this is too weird, maybe this is not the right fit?
No, not too weird. I like weird. I want it to be weird. I told everybody, right. I mean, there's some weird projects in this story, but I'll tell you a good example of one that concerned me. And
he's like concerned. I like the word.
it was concerned, you know, especially with, man, young people. Like some of the people writing and drawing stories for this book are like 20 years old, you know.
Ooh, they're very young.
And so this one kid named Sean Benton, he pitched this story that was about these pirates that get a map to like a mermaid's cove. And in the world, it's just understood that if you can get there, you get to have sex with these mermaids. And all these pirates are just excited to go and have this like sexual awakening or whatever.
They're all thinking with the wrong head. Gotcha.
Yes. And so, but what was really great about it, like Sean's inspiration, his influence are like almost, it feels like equal parts like The Simpsons and Family Guy and SpongeBob, you know, like these types of things. And the jokes that he was pitching in his original script, all the characters kind of felt like one note, like one easy kind of dick joke or cum joke or whatever it was. And the thing that I really tried to stress to him was like, hey, I'm not saying it can't be vulgar. I'm not saying it can't be funny. I'm not saying it can't be provocative. What I'm saying is it can't be the same. It'll be boring if it's the same thing the whole way through. Yeah. And so initially he was kind of resistant to those notes, I thought. And I was concerned that, you know, he might work on this for 6 or 7 months and then I might not put it in the book if I think it's just not very funny or if it's not very good. But he worked incredibly hard on it. And it
Nice.
became something that I think is actually, it's doing what it should do, which is that I think it is genuinely provocative. I think it's genuinely going to turn some people away and maybe offend some people. But I think that it will also, for the people who are tuned into that type of material, I think they'll appreciate the effort, like the intellectual effort that was made to tell a story like that. That it's that two-hander. It is crude, but it's actually pretty clever as well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, crude can be clever, absolutely can, in so many fun ways. I mean, many classic comedians have proved that, where crude can be clever and smart. So, you know, again, people don't be judging. Wait till you watch this, and peep this book for real. Now, let's talk the visual language, right? Like, what art style or movements help kind of shape the project's vibe for you?
I mean, that I think is one of the most exciting things about this book, is that because there's over 30 creators, and some of them
30?
Some of them are young, and some of them are pros, and some of them are from other countries. You're getting a huge mix. So like the only thing that's really the through line between everybody is that I picked everybody. So I didn't choose anything that I don't like. But the range of influence is remarkable. I mean, there's a guy who's illustrating in the book from Wales. He lives in the UK, and he's this, like, he came up with like Jamie Hewlett, the Gorillaz artist.
Okay.
And so he's got that kind of influence. He's in his 50s. He, you know, was from the UK, grew up, you know, kind of came up in the 80s. And so the cartooning and the illustration and his use of, you know, traditional materials, watercolor paints and color pencils and things like that is very different than, you know, this other artist who's working on the book. Their name's Joaquin, and like their stuff's all digital, and it's very anime influenced with a little bit of Steven Universe and a little bit of some of these, you know, kind of like mid 2000s Cartoon Network aesthetic. And it just bounces everywhere. Like, I don't think that there are two stories in the whole book that really closely resemble one another, like visually. It's really diverse.
Folks, we're about to show it off. Don't you worry. My last question before I show it off, because, you know, we're about to get into it. Kickstarter, boom, right?
Yeah.
It's like stepping on stage with no armor. So what made you say, yeah, let's crowdsource my soul?
Well, it's not my first rodeo, that's for sure. I've done a couple Kickstarters before. So every time I do it, I have a different, I learn things, right? I learn things that work, things that don't work, things that are worth the money, things that are worth the time. And after my last book that I did around this time last year, it just went so well. And I felt like my network was strong enough. I felt like my strategy was strong enough that going into a project like this, you don't have to make that much money to make it work. You know, if we can raise $25,000, $30,000, that's a successful print project. You know, nobody's getting rich off of it, but you know, that's not a crazy amount to hit. And to do it self-published, to crowdfund it, if the question is why do that versus going to a publisher, I think the answer to that is like control. I really don't want anybody telling me what artist should or shouldn't be in the book, what story, what type of story should or shouldn't be in the book, what you can or can't talk about, you know, what's marketable, what's not marketable. I'm so much more interested in just sort of carving that path on my own.
Yeah. Testing the waters, seeing what does stick. They don't know. I mean, now, you know, people's tastes and flavors change, and you never know what could be the next big hit. I've been surprised over the years what have been hits. I mean, look at now, for example, in comics, anything to do with animals and pets, puppies and kittens, those books are like effing taking off. Who would have thought that a couple of years ago? No one.
Yeah,
right?
It's true.
You know, it even when Kirkman came out with Walking Dead, you know, I remember being at the shop. I bought that shit #1 and buying along with Conan Zero. You know what I mean? And like, who would have thought? I showed my friends, oh, it's a black and white book. It's corny. Okay.
Sure.
Next thing you know, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
And Invincible and Outcast.
and
I
Invincible.
mean, like Kirkman's built.
Yes. He's a boss.
Yeah, he's incredible.
But so is the Kargverse, and this is why and folks that have not been in tune, I've been missing out. But guess what? You're lucky now. You're lucky. You've been introduced, if you will. Where Papa, I guess happen right here where I feel doomed. I mean, look, this project is not live yet, but I mean, look at that. Look at the artistry there, man. I mean, if that doesn't touch you and just tell you, because who has not had a dark cloud over them where you feel like they're touching you like that on your shoulder? When I saw this cover, I said, damn, you know what? You made me feel with this piece of art here. Because I've been there where I felt like, I've been in a dark time. And I feel like that darkness embraced me at the same time. Like, you know what? I got you. I'm going to give you all the pain that you could handle. Let's go. And that's what this shit says to me. It's beautiful, bro.
Thank you.
Who did that? See, was it you?
Yeah, that's me. And but what's kind of cool, this is the piece that I had made a totally different cover for the book, and it was busier. It was more like Mad Magazine, like Jack Davis. There were all these different characters, and there were the idea is that you would look at all these people that were doomed all at once, almost like a Final Destination or something. Like someone's falling out a window and someone's lightning is about to hit them, and a dog is peeing on them, and all this. And I sent it to the publicist I'd hired, this girl Melissa, and I said, "What do you think of this?" And she was like, "This, you cannot use this. It's not good." And I was shocked and not upset with her, but I was like disappointed to hear that, like, sometimes when you make art, you get you kind of have to be a little delusional about what you're doing. You have to have a certain confidence about what you're doing. So you'll make a piece and trust that it's good. And of course it's all subjective. But when she said, hey, you're going to have a problem with people connecting to the idea of what this book is, and people are going to be seeing this as a thumbnail. You have to think about how it's going to live on Kickstarter, etc. And I had to trust her. And within 3 or 4 days, I just scrapped the original cover and I did this one. And not only do I think it's a much, much stronger cover, and it does all the things that she's talking about. It does what you're talking about, which is that it immediately resonates in an emotional way.
Yeah.
But also, I have all the artists that I'm working with. We're all on a Discord server together. And so I put up my first draft of it, and people started editing it with me. Other artists are grabbing it, throwing it into Photoshop, and saying, "Oh, I would move the feet like this. I would change the hands. I think this." And so this piece ended up being done by me, and then a second artist, this guy Rustam Hazanov, who's one of the most talented artists in the book. He came and did some paint over, so it's kind of a collaboration of sorts. Which that's something. That aspect of art making and people kind of doing a piece and handing it over and then getting it back. This is something that's very atypical in the industry, but it's something that's very, very common in our project, is mentorship and, people that know a little bit more about color, people that know a little bit more about
community, man. Y'all building this as a community
together to make, it's not just everybody as their own island. We're working as a team to make sure that all ships are rising.
Yeah, I dig it, man. Again, that's beautiful. I mean,
that's Rustam. That's his piece. Look how good that guy is.
Yeah. Oh shit.
I mean, remarkable. His story. I as somebody who's a huge fan of illustration, and I've been in this for a couple decades, his story alone is worth the price of this book.
Really? Worth the price of admission. There we go.
That's what I'm saying. This guy here, Thierry Martin, this guy's legendary. Something that I'm so proud of is that early on in the book, I reached out to a couple of my friends who were pros. I happen to be friends with Rustam, so it wasn't that difficult to convince him to do a piece for this story. But Thierry is a French artist. I don't even think he speaks English. And I just reached out to him through Instagram, and he and I talked to him very briefly with my previous book called Dear Bernadette. So we had a little rapport, but I asked him, I said, hey, do you have anything? Would you want to contribute to this? And without hesitating, he sent me a beautiful, beautiful page and said, good luck. And I'm happy to be a part of it.
What?
Like, that was really a game changer for me. And a lot of the pros that are in this book, it came from that one message to Thierry Martin empowered me to say, well, maybe I could message this person or message this person. These people.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Worst anyone could say is no, and if they don't, it's only no for now, the way I see it.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Just get it. Ooh, salute to you, but just ask, man.
Look, this artist here, this is Claudio Acciari. This guy's got an incredible story. He's in his 50s, like early 50s. He's from Italy, from like a medieval village outside of Milan. He moved to Germany when he was in his 20s to work on an animated feature film, taught himself English, ended up coming to the US. He worked on The Road to El Dorado and a couple other DreamWorks movies, got completely burned out. It felt like the industry, the machine just kind of sucked his soul
drained
out.
His soul out.
And he came back. He decided, you know what? It's not for me. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to live in Italy and I'm going to do things how I want, my way.
Yeah.
I'm going to move at my speed. And he's a legend. This guy is legendary. And he has one of the longest stories in the book. It's like 23 pages, all silent, black and white. It feels like something that was like just like transported from the 1950s into the modern day. But it's a little.
My man is telling me.
It's not quite 50s because it's a little cheeky. This guy, he has this beautiful wife at home, and he's having a hard time sleeping with his wife because his job demands too much of him. The whole thing's kind of like this metaphor for the way that your job.
Viagra days, poor guy.
Yeah, I know.
Now I'm a big fan of coloring. Now this is hysterical, especially what we're seeing with the dogs.
Yeah.
Like seeing too much, bro. TMI.
This is a snapshot of the cover that got abandoned.
Oh, really?
Yep. This is just the bottom corner of that cover. And that piece will be in the final book. So people will get to see the whole thing, but just not as the cover.
I would tell Shorty, can you please move? You're about to get splashed.
Yeah. This kid's 20 years old. Can you believe that? Ellis Hamberger. He's one of the most
here in the States.
People. Really, really good. I'll tell you, this kid a year and a half ago had never read comics. Didn't know anything about comics. Wasn't sure what he wanted to do. He came to college, and he's one of these students that you see where every time you give them anything, they turn in something really impressive, right?
Yeah.
And so a year and a half ago, I started talking to him, and I started showing him people like Daniel Warren Johnson and James Herron, these kind of new guys who are really popping
right now. Yeah, man.
And I'm telling you, he's one of these people. I've met a couple artists like this. He would go away for the weekend, and when he'd come back, he's drawing a Batman, and it looks like James Herron. Like he's a mimic. He can understand. He just looks, and then it becomes the way he's drawing. And so he's somebody. Wait till you see the story that he did for this project. It feels like you're looking at Daniel Warren Johnson. Like he's capturing that energy in the inking. It's got that tone. It's this big action kind of comedy story about these two guys. Kind of, it's almost like you know that movie The Raid? Have you ever seen that?
Oh yeah, of course.
So it's like that. They have to make their way up every floor of this building, and they're fighting all these cyborgs. It's incredible.
Damn.
It's incredible.
Hopefully you're not with that damn banana.
Yeah.
I love
no. That's not. This is just a one-off. This has nothing to do with that story. That's just a piece he did to help promote the book.
All right, I love it, man. And just the aesthetic here reminds me so much of like French style comics. Yes. Yeah. But
it also, it's funny. You mentioned Walking Dead earlier. It kind of makes me think of Tony Moore also.
Oh yeah, Tony. Yeah. What?
Which, Tony's also a Jack Davis guy,
And I use this as my main image because, man, what I saw in this is a tattoo. Like,
yeah.
Who did this? This is so fun.
So, dude, this is a combo. So this is Ellis penciled it, and then I inked and colored it.
Bro, your coloring was fucking boss, bro.
Dude, thank you. But this is what I'm talking about. This is a really cool example of the way that we're combining with one another. Like we're trying in all these ways to like try out, like, in my opinion, the thing that used to be, you don't see this that much anymore. The thing that used to be really exciting about comics back in the day is that almost everybody was a monster in their field. They were a great penciler, a great inker, a great storyteller, right? But because of the way that they made comics, you would have people that would be inking each other. Like, you know, like there's a run of Challengers of the Unknown that Jack Kirby is penciling and Wally Wood is inking. And it's like, holy shit, I can't believe that there's samples of Wally Wood inking on Jack Kirby, you know? And then, you know, you move forward through time, and like one of the best ever examples of like John Romita Jr. art is when he did that Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, right?
Yes.
Miniseries.
Yes.
And his inker on that book is Al Williamson, who's one of those EC guys. He's a contemporary of Frank Frazetta. Like, this used to happen all the time, that you'd get these weird mashups and it would make a totally different product that would be really unique and interesting. Yeah, and that's something that I'm trying to tap into with not only this book, but the books that I do moving forward. I don't
think you're trying, you're doing.
Yeah, it's true.
You're doing, bro, because you're bringing it. I mean, these are just the examples here, bro. It's just fire. Now, let's talk risk, though, right? What's the biggest creative gamble you feel that you took with I Feel?
Man, creative gamble? I feel like I took more of a financial gamble.
I mean, that's in creativity, period, man. When it comes to comics, man, that's why I love my indie folks, and much respect to each and every independent creator out there. Because, y'all folks need to understand, they're not backed by anyone. A lot of the time, this is coming out their pocket, their livelihood, their homes, their food, their tummy. You know what I mean? And you guys show respect. This is why I'm so adamant that, please, you guys gotta definitely, if you have some questions, bring them on in, brother. Bring them on in. That's what he's here for. We're talking about this dope project. If you got some questions, bring it on.
I think that, to answer your question, I think the creative gamble that anybody takes whenever you're telling a story that's not an existing IP is that you're walking out on a ledge or a plank and just kind of hoping that people find your idea interesting, Yeah,
bro, for real.
Like the last, I just saw the other day that on Kickstarter, the comic book that raised the most money ever was like a reboot of SWAT Cats.
Oh yeah, that SWAT Cats murdered the game last year in the Silververse.
I've got no problem, right? SWAT Cats was a cartoon. It had a fire opening. The guy who's doing the pencils and the art for that is incredible. He's about to be doing Lobo, and he did Transformers with Daniel Warren Johnson. Like, he's a really, really talented guy. So I'm very happy for the success of that. But I'm also not surprised to discover that or like Berserk with Keanu Reeves, like, it's still, even in the indie space, it takes some
names dominate.
I don't know, it takes celebrity. It takes something to get these things to pop. But the thing that I've seen that can defeat that is a series. If somebody could put out volume 3 or volume 4 or volume 5 of something on Kickstarter, they can see those same, maybe not the same numbers, but they can see numbers that are $250,000, $300,000, $500,000 because they've built a community and they built trust with a group of people.
That takes time.
Yeah, I feel like that's the risk. The risk is doing something like that.
Because I see like Jimmy Palmiotti, for example, great creator. He was in the big two, but he does his stuff. On Kickstarter, he does really well. I mean, he's not making the hundreds of thousands, but I could guarantee you, he's definitely making several racks per project, easy.
That's the interesting thing.
He delivers.
There's people just like the main industry. There's people in different kind of like tiers, right? Yeah. Like Jimmy is somebody who I kind of, from what I remember anyway, he kind of can guarantee that he's going to hit like 35, 40K.
Yes, that's about his average.
Easy.
Yeah.
And so if he knows that, then you can budget a book. Yeah. And by the way, that's 30, 40K and you haven't taken it to market, So Jimmy, Jimmy at every single convention, I'm sure at this point, it's a bookstore.
Oh,
yeah.
You got to see his lines.
I have 25, 30 books that he's selling,
I call him and Amanda kind of the Jay-Z and Beyonce of comics, because just because they dominate, they bring attention.
That's flattering
to the show. they murder it, They're the king and queen of it right now. For real, they really murder it. They really a good power couple. It's nice to see.
Yeah.
Now, if someone backs this project and says, damn, this made me feel seen, how does that hit you?
Oh man, that's the goal. You know, I guess my number one hope is that people, when they read through this, that at the very least that there's one story in here that resonates with them in like a remarkably, surprisingly deep way.
Okay.
That's that's all you really need, right? It's like, not to say like I think anybody who makes art and is putting it out there and is taking risk and keeps making and going and pitching or whatever, all you're looking for is connection, you know?
Yes.
And so, yeah, what I hope the most is that a year from now, 2 years from now, I'm at a convention, I'm at my table, and there's people coming up being like, I read I Feel Doomed, this one particular story, oh my God, you know, my dog had just died, or I had lost my job, or, you know, ICE arrested my neighbor, or whatever it was, like whatever awful shit you were going through, it kind of hit you in just the right way at just the right time, you know? I just read this novel called Sandwich that my wife read, and she loved it. And it's about a woman going through menopause, and she goes to the beach with her family, and you're just spending a week at the beach. And going into it, I wasn't dismissive of it, but I didn't expect that book would hit me so hard in the way that you're talking about. But it did, because what the book does is it oscillates between her in her 60s with children in their 20s, and she's experiencing them in that moment, but she's constantly thinking back to when they were 2 or 3 or 4 years old, which is how old my kids are.
Yeah.
And so as I'm reading the book, I realize like it's inviting me to really feel precious about this moment that I'm in as a parent, but it's also giving me a window into the future to speculate about what it might feel like in 15, 20 years, you know?
I'm already there. My baby's 25.
There you go. Dude, you should read Sandwich.
I think I'm going to have to. You're going to make me feel emotional and start crying at some bar somewhere. Come on, bro. Let me do this, bro.
I'm sorry. Read it inside, away from everyone.
Please. Maybe. I'm emotional. Now, what would younger you think if they saw this project today?
Oh, my God. It'd be a dream come true. I mean, the Claudio Acciari, the guy that I told you about earlier, when I was in undergrad, so when I was 22 years old, Google used to have blogs. It was called Google Blogger. I don't know if you ever followed anybody.
Oh my God, yes.
But it was the very early days of blogs. Holy shit. What was incredible about Google Blogger was, for the first time ever, people who were concept artists for animation and storyboard artists and animators started to have a way that fans could connect with them and they could show their drawings, because unlike comic book artists who are they have the ability to be kind of famous, you know?
Yeah. Like
these animators and these people from video games and stuff, they don't have that kind of, at that time in 2004, they didn't have that kind of connection. So I found Claudio, and also back then, it's really funny, everybody would put their email. You know, you could just email you. If you followed someone, you could email them. And so
they didn't know how dangerous that was.
That's what I mean. Nobody would do. I mean, yeah, it's very funny. The access, people would put their phone numbers, you know?
Oh yeah, everything. Their beeper number.
Yes. So I, as a young artist, a very young artist, not yet graduated, I wrote Claudio and told him how much I liked his work. And to his credit, he became like pen pals with me. And he wrote letters back and forth to me, not once, not twice, like 10, 15 letters. We would write back and forth. We talked about
real pen
comics and color. And I couldn't believe that someone so talented was taking the time to talk to me. And so cool. And so then years went by, and at the end of my college career, I asked him if he would write a letter of like support for me. And he did. Every studio that I applied to, I had his letter attached, telling Disney and telling Pixar and telling DreamWorks and Nickelodeon that he was saying I was a genius and that they would be idiots not to hire me. No one hired me, which is true. It's true, but it felt so good that that I couldn't believe my parents didn't talk about me that way. And so
I get it.
to be working with him, let alone 15, 20 of these other people, it's incredible. So all the people that are beyond me that are working on this project, I feel incredibly like honored and lucky that they're working with me. And then everybody who is under me, people that were my students, who I'm mentoring, I feel so grateful to be in a position where they trust me, and I'm learning from them. You know, like art is a funny thing. You know, it's not someone who's 50 could really not know something that someone who's 20 knows. Yeah. And if you're both willing to connect and share ideas, you both grow, you know?
Agreed. So, you're talking, I'm in my 50s right now, 50, you know, on the dot. You know what I mean? And I get it. Yeah, I talk to a lot of youngins. And yeah, then sometimes it's mashup of ideas, and sometimes I want to choke them because they don't understand.
Sure. You know, old heads are like that too.
I mean, you know? Anyway, I feel you. We could be stubborn too. Absolutely. I'm not saying, you know, it's a full circle, baby. It's all right.
Yeah.
Now, be real though. What's maybe one misconception people might have before they open I Feel Doomed?
I think probably the biggest misconception, if people if they don't watch the videos, they're not plugged in or paying attention to the content, I think they would maybe assume that everything in this book is depressing, and it's not. Yeah. Like it's about these anxieties that we have. It's about these fears that we have, but because there's so many stories from so many different voices, there's a lot that are funny. There's a lot that are silly or hopeful or uplifting, in addition to ones that are deeply tragic or painful or whatever. It's a great mix. And so I guess that would be the misconception. And my hope is that that's a big surprise for people when they start reading the book. I hope they're really surprised to discover that from one story to the next, they're kind of, you know, going up and down, you know, riding a wave.
And when does this baby launch? Because listen, folks, that's the link below. It's also in the show notes, and that QR code, again, just snap away. It'll take you right there to make sure you get notified on launch. So when do you expect this baby to go live?
2 days. Sunday.
Oh my God.
February
Sunday.
1st.
Oh, snap.
Yep.
February 1st, folks, you already here. You heard? You got to make sure you go ahead and support this fantastic project. Now, I do have 2 more questions, but this one is about the project before we go. This is the final boss question on this one. If doom is inevitable, why bother creating it at all?
If doom is inevitable, why bother creating it? You know, one of my favorite writers is Kurt Vonnegut. And, you know, if you don't know, Kurt Vonnegut was in World War II, and he was present at the bombing of Dresden. It's one of the largest, I think maybe at that time, the largest loss of human life in one evening or one battle.
One battle? Okay.
And it was a transformative experience in his life. And he came back, and it really, it changed him in this way that he saw what humanity was capable of in all of its horrors. And as he became a writer, and as he began writing his novels and finding his voice and speaking to the world, I think that he was writing from this position that was like, he wasn't trying to convince people or change the world into a world that wasn't the world that killed all those people. But I think that he was trying to help people understand that there, even though bad things happen, that we are good. Like, we are good people. There are good people. There is so much good in the world. And I feel like it's the job of the good people to help us process the bad things that happen. You know, right now, this is a great example. Like, as you and I are talking, every single post on Instagram that I see is about ICE. It's all about, you know, there's today, people aren't shopping. People are not going to school. They're not going to work. They're doing what they can to resist what's happening in the Twin Cities and in Chicago and all over the country. And artists are a gigantic part of the visual representation of what we see as the resistance against that oppressive kind of fascist idea, right? And so I'm not sure, you know, like, I don't know. I think that my presumption, I'm 42, you know, if I'm alive for another 35, 40 years, I think that I'll probably see some of the worst things, maybe the worst things I've ever seen in my life, horrors I couldn't imagine. And I think I'll also experience surprises like of humanity, people really rising up and helping and growing and stopping and, you know, and locking hands and loving one another. It's just, I don't know. I think anybody who's tapped into human history knows that we're horrible. We're horrible to one another.
Yes,
you know,
we are.
We're really brutal to one another, but we're also incredibly compassionate at times to one another. So, I guess
I'm saying, aliens, come on down, because we need something to unite humanity.
Yeah, true. It's true. Or something to take over humanity and save us from ourselves.
You know, let's go, please. Something gotta
We'll
happen.
be your pets. Just make us your pets. We didn't need to be in charge.
But don't pet me though. I may not like that. You know what I mean? No.
Well, you never know. You haven't had a pet like this.
What's going on? Hey, all right. So what's popping, Joe? Are you going to be making any appearances at any cons? You know, any plans where you can shake your hand, pick up some books? You know, whether it's this project or your prior ones.
Yeah, for sure. I think the next show I'm going to be at is Heroes Con
nice.
in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's mid-June. And if things go as well as they can go, I should have copies of this book at Heroes Con. If they're not ready by then, I'll have other stuff to sell and I'll be happy to say hi and do the auction and all that stuff. And then afterwards, I'll probably be at Dragon Con. Dragon Con's like my hometown con. But I think this year I want to try to, I'm curious about C2E2. I'm curious about New York Comic Con.
Come to New York. You'll do really well there. Promise you that.
I think so too. I've been to New York as a fan or as a pro, but not with the table. But some of my friends do New York and they do really well there.
You're going to do well. Especially this book right here. I feel this is New York all over it.
Yeah, it's true.
There's that fan base. And if you do a New York, maybe like variant special.
Oh, yeah, that's a smart idea.
Think about that. What? You bring that, maybe you could use one of those pieces from that collage you did and make that a variant.
Yeah, that's
bring the craziness of New York into it. You never know.
I love it.
Yeah, man, I want to see it, but I want to bring the Karg verse to New York. Let's get it, make it happen, all right? So,
Great.
Yo, Joe, not that one, folks. This Joe right here, all right? This has been a master class in turning feelings into fire, Crusaders. You heard? So if you've ever felt overwhelmed, lost, anxious, or just tired of pretending that everything's fine, this project is going to be speaking your language. But again, it's not all doom. It's fun. It's insight. It's deep. It's beautiful. You feel me? So hit that Kickstarter, all right? Back I Feel Doomed, all right? Support indie art that tells the truth with style, baby. You heard? Now show love to creators brave enough to turn vulnerability into visuals. So like, share, comment, summon your inner chaos gremlin, all right? And remember, you're not doomed. You're just early in the story. You heard? Wepa!
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.